Well, they say election is a process that begins long before the primary election, and then you see candidates taking over from there with campaigns. We saw the election, the voting exercise today across Edo State. We are now in the most critical phase of it. It's called collation, right? So the collation begins right at the polling unit. We expect some of it at the ward. We're just getting news that the collation at the Oredo local government area has now been suspended. We'll be speaking with our correspondent there to understand why and how long it will take to have all of the results get to the State Collation Center in Benin City. They say Edo voters have been very patient through the process. Some delay earlier on today in some of the polling units where voting was delayed as long as 2 hours in some units. Logistics challenge raised its ugly head again, and it was also a raining day as well. We talked about the bad road network, especially in Edo North, which could have impacted on logistics on INEC side. We spoke earlier with the resident electoral commissioner who said there was nothing to worry about. Perhaps the brighter side of today's exercise is the INEC viewing portal, which has recorded 96.7% of uploaded results. It means we now have results from 4,373 polling units out of 4,519. When will the collation begin? We don't know yet, but we have our correspondents there in Edo, and we'll be talking to them very shortly. Welcome to the last laps. Hopefully that the collation begins tonight. I'm joined by Dr. Jide Johson, who is Chief Lecturer at NIJ. I also have with me Femi Lawson, Public Affairs Analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on the program this evening.
It's a pleasure. It's a Johnson and Lawson affair. Thank you for having us.
Well, I should find a son. How do I do that? Femi sing.
It's allowed.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Oh, what a day it's been. INEC came up with the usual story we tell of logistics challenge again today. And, well, from the feedback, they say that may not have completely impacted on the number of turnout. But with time, we can tell if the voter turnout is better this time. It doesn't look like it, though. The last election in Edo, less than 30% of registered voters actually turned out. From the look of things, what's your evaluation of the process?
I think the most important thing for me so far is the fact that unlike the atmosphere that we witnessed over the last couple of days, yes, particularly during the campaign and statements by political actors in the build-up to the election, one would have thought today would have been about bloodshed, violence. And it's good that the people of Edo State has proven that, of course, irrespective of the emotion of politicians, that they can conduct themselves peacefully, that they can peacefully choose candidate of their choice, hoping that their choice is reflected in the outcome of this election. But ultimately that there were no significant cases of violence, despite the tension in the build-up to this election, is something worthy of note.
We heard about do-or-die affair.
Yes.
The PDP candidate refused to sign the peace accord. But we must give it to the security operatives as well. Over the night, they made some significant arrests and a couple of arrests in the course of the day. What do you think, Dr. Johnson?
Yeah, when the agencies that are meant to ensure that there is free and fair election comply with the rules and regulations that guides the conduct of the election, this is the type of outcome you get. And at the end of the day, it becomes pretty difficult to challenge that outcome. It will reduce the number of days, resources we spend on litigation. Most of the outcome of our election are determined by the courts, because we provided clue for that during the conduct of the election. So a situation whereby you have the agencies, the security agencies, the supervising electoral body for the election, complying with laid down rules and procedure, when it is pretty difficult for you to manipulate the process as business as usual, then you comply with what is on ground. And this is what we want for our election to be. Election should be a carnival. It should be a contest in which you win, you lose. It shouldn't be a do or die affair. And if you lose, you know the reason why you lose. And if you win, you know the reason why you win. You won the election. the challenge we have had is people have won election in this country through the judiciary. As a result of that, their legitimacy did not directly come from the people. So how would they be responsible to the people? I think if we follow this template that we have, if you take this election and you situate it with the off-cycle election we had in Imo, in Bayelsa, and in Kogi State, you know that this is an improvement concerning what we had in those three states.
We have some updates from Oredo where collation of results there has been suspended after some delay. We understand that collation had been ongoing at the Urokota Hall at the Oredo Local Government Secretariat, but after 3 of the wards had presented their results, the collation officer for the local government area announced that it was no longer safe to continue the collation after word and violence from Ikpobaoha filtered in. They have now moved Oredo results collation to the state center, also in Ikpobaoha. They say it gets a little bit more dicey now. Long after the voting has been done, this is where the real collation takes place. So fear of violence is beginning to affect the timing of the collation.
Yes, it's looking like that, but I think this is a time that the security agencies on ground must now take full charge of the process, not by interfering, but ensuring that this last phase of the process is allowed to run smoothly. Even though we've had over 90% of the results already posted on the portal, the law is that the results are going to be announced legally at the collation center. And that is why, irrespective of what we have seen on the portal, where these results are going to be announced must be secured, and that is the collation centers. And if it's not going to be safe to continue that in the dead of the night, I don't think it is going to be too much for people who have roles to play, particularly the political party agents and security agencies, to protect and secure these centers. Then maybe when it's done, collation can resume.
Solomon Rajosioku is standing by with more updates on what's happening in Oradell. We're hearing that the collation at the local government level has been suspended for fear of violence. Give us more context to what's happening there, Solomon.
We were just at the Oredo, the Urokota Hall in Oredo LGA, the collation center for the local government. After a brief delay, some of the officers began, some of the supervisors began coming in, and then the collation of results at the local government level commenced a few minutes to 10 p.m. Tonight. But then after three wards, we had 12 wards in Oredo LGA. After the announcement of about 3 results, the collation officer just had to put a stop to the announcement when words filtered in from a place called Igbebe in Ikpobaoha, that violence had erupted there. Presumably, that may be a collation center in that local government. Don't forget that Oredo local government and Ikpobaoha, both of them are the largest voting local governments in Edo State. And much was expected to come from there. Much votes were expected to come from there, from the 2 local governments. Just while the announcement of this one here in Oredo was going on, then issues came up. Even around the hall, the Urokota Hall, where the announcement of the collation of the results for the local government was going on. You could see some strange-looking individuals around there. Even by the time I got there, someone had given me a hint to be very careful that thugs were milling around. And it was a bit scary even around there while the announcement was going on, despite the heavy presence of security agents at the hall. Right now, the collation for the Oredo elections, the governorship elections in Oredo has been moved to the INEC State Collation Center. Curiously, That's also in Ikpo local government. That's where the INEC office is along the Aduwawa way. If people outside Ikpo do not feel safe collating their results in Oredo, how would they feel safe if they are now going into Ikpo? Well, you say it's the INEC State Collation Center, which might be a much better secured place. But as it is right now, the collation of governorship election results in Oredo local government has been moved to the State Collation Center.
But Solomon, can you confirm if all the results are in from the wards in this local government?
Well, at the point, the collation officers from the wards were already seated, and the collation officer at the local government was inviting them one after the other. And it was on the third one that he stopped, announcing, telling them that he no longer felt safe around there, and it was not advisable to continue collating the results there at Turokota Hall in Oredo. And so they all moved out with all the security agents with them to the State Collation Center.
So I'm wondering what security presence was like at the local government collation center. Was it that the thugs were going to overwhelm them? 35,000 police personnel were deployed for this exercise. What did you see as regards security infrastructure around that facility while the collation was ongoing?
Well, we had so many security men there, but I think a sticking point there was that it was too dark around the hall.
Okay.
It's a well-built hall, beautiful hall. You must have seen the shots of the hall that we sent from here. Well laid out hall, but outside it, all of it surrounded. It's just by the ring road there, very close to the Oba's Palace. It's just there by the ring road. And the amazing thing is that all of the surroundings are dark. The ring road is lighted, everywhere you can see almost a pin, on the ground there. But around the Iropota Hall is too dark. The parking lots are too dark. And I was wondering, okay, so if you have a collation center here, one of the most important points about security is light. So you don't have light at the Iropota Hall, and this is the collation center for this local government. This is not the first time it's been used. It's always been the collation center for the local government. You would have expected better light all around that hall, especially at a time like this when results will be collated there. And so some of these people were milling around. Even when the INEC officials were moving out of the hall and going out, we saw residue of some of the young men around, milling around, and you were wondering, who are these people? There were so many of them around there. Even though they did not appear to follow the INEC officials and the security officials to where they were going, they took their own time and sat back and waited there. But it could be scary watching them, and some of us had to quickly take our leave from there.
So Solomon, what do you envisage will happen now? Will they create a section for Oredo local government within the State Collation Center for their own collation to happen? And how would that impact on the timing for the state collation?
Well, maybe this shouldn't be hard. No, now, what happened in Oredo generally, in all the 12 wards, was that they broke their own collation centers in the local government from the wards in the local government into regions and zones. So you had a collation center of 5 wards or 3 wards in a particular area. So wards 4, 5, and 6, where we went to had their collation center at Idia College. And you had a lot of space there, a lot of halls, a lot of classrooms there, where each of the wards could actually collate their own results there and then bring it together to their own supervisors, who would then bring, all of this to the LG Collation Center.
All right.
That can be replicated at the State Collation Center, where you have various halls. They can have a separate hall in INEC there, where they can announce their own results, and then join the others at the main hall at the INEC state headquarters to collate the entire results.
Do you think the collation at the state level will commence before dawn?
Collation at the state headquarters is dependent on the arrival
Well, we have to get back
of
to
results from the local government. Now,
we'll probably have to get back to Solomon
the closest
subsequently.
local government to this worker, of course.
Solomon, hold that thought. We have to work on your connection to get back to you. Thank you for the update there. We'll talk to you much later. Dr. Johson, what do you think? What do you make of the security threat? Okay, let's begin with the light issue. There is no light.
It's nothing new. And then you wonder the resources that is earmarked for the election, and you wonder how INEC can justify the resources. You look at even places that are used for collation, just getting a small generator to power for the Ward Collation Center. The Ward Collation Center is the starting point from all the polling units in the ward. In that particular local government, there are 12 wards. Now, 12 wards, and he said in one particular area there are 4 wards. 3 wards where 3, 4, 5, 6 are collating their result in the same compound. That itself is an invitation to chaos. So we need to ask this question about INEC. How do they justify, 1, the resources they spend on logistics? 2, how do they justify the resources they spend on the collation centers? When you look at the collation center we use for our election, if it's for them to do a social function, election is like an event. Now, if for them to do a party or to do a social function, they will get the gen, they will decorate the place, they will do all of it. Compare the local government collation center, both the security, both the light, with the state collation center. It's a complete 360 turn around. Why wouldn't you have light where you are collating the result? How much will it cost INEC to get a gen to power that particular center? Well, when men went to sleep, the enemy came to Sotias. So a lot of things happen in the dark. People that have sinister motive will always pray for something to be in the dark. If it's only those that have something to hide that do something in the dark. And what is happening is just strategic. If you have an understanding of the trappings of election, like some of us that have participated in election before, I'll tell you, the game is a game that is going on over there. It's a game. Now, if you collate Oredo result, which is, 1, the local government of the governor, which is one of the largest local government of the local government. If you know the game we play in Nigeria, you understand. I won't say more than that.
I'm wondering who is playing this game.
I won't say more than that.
But let us just wrap up with Solomon. You were talking about expectation as to when collation can resume or commence rather at the state headquarters.
Right. So we did not start collation at Oredo until the results came in. The officers came in with their result sheets. So at the state headquarters, collation cannot start if we do not have results to announce. So the best way to start is for those that are closer to the state headquarters, which you have Ikpobaoka, then you have Oredo, then the entire Edo South, Ihuwande local government, and Orion, Ego, and the rest of them, before you now begin to bring in the results from Edo Central and then Edo North. So first the close by local governments and then the far-flung ones. So until those results come in, if the one in Oredo here hasn't been concluded, they cannot step up to the national collations, to the state collation center to begin collation of results the state collation to begin there. It's those who are ready, and those coming from far-flung places, from Edo North and from Central. Well, that's some logistical challenge. Hopefully, the journey will continue all through the night, and as they come, the results will be announced. If they have one or two, they could begin the announcement and wait for the others to arrive. Once they arrive, then they take them up. Once they finish one or two, three, and the others haven't arrived, they take a break and wait for them to arrive, and then they continue announcement. That's the way it goes actually.
Well, there are about 7 local government areas in the Edo South, Oredo, Ovia Southwest, Ego, Ipobaoa, Onwade. Hopefully, we'll get some results in from them to the State Collation Center. But we'll see how it goes. Solomon Adozego, thank you for your coverage. It's probably going to be a long night. We're also waiting to hear from INEC as to the way forward from here. We'll get back to you shortly, Solomon. There's a lot of talks now as to, we're going to get back to the infrastructure. He was talking about the resources that have been at INEC's disposal. You have covered election for a while. Can we blame all of this on INEC? We've seen the State Collation Center itself. Our correspondent was talking about how small the space is, and she was saying she's not sure this place would take all of the stakeholders who would want to be there.
It's not just about the inability of INEC to cater for its logistic needs, but also it really exposes even the decadence in our public infrastructures. Okay. Because it is not until we have elections that we should begin to realize that these are public spaces that ordinarily should be put in shape. It tells you that a lot of those public spaces, particularly in the state where election is being conducted today, are not even fit for human habitation. I know there are states in Nigeria today where you can conduct election and collate even in this very hour. It tells about the level of development of our states. It tells about the fact that election is exposing the decadence in our public infrastructures. So this is not, I don't think there's any magic INEC could have done to provide power, because I find it because if you look at the cost of elections, I will now begin to add the purchase of 232 generators for 232 ward collation. It may even require some polling, wards, having to wait for collation from polling units. Do we also power them, using generators? So it tells about how much more we have to invest in our public infrastructures so that beyond elections, if there are also very important needs for us to use our public infrastructure at any time of the day, it should be readily available.
By the way, we may not even have had the issue of light if voting started on time, if the election materials got into the...
No, collation in most instances have always ended up at this time of the day.
I'm saying at the ward and the local government areas. Elections usually end by 2:30 p.m. 2,
3 sometimes, but yes, there were extensions not everywhere. In this case, only in some places.
Because of delayed arrival material.
Some of the factors responsible for this, just like I said, are also public infrastructures. There are places that you may not have to travel to if you don't have access to a motorcycle or other means of transportation. There are places where even you have to travel hours to get to the local government headquarters because of the bad state of public infrastructures like road. So a lot of these things are connected to how efficient INEC can be during elections.
Let us talk about IRA for a bit, Dr. Johson. A few hours ago, INEC Nigeria tweeted, breaking news, the Commission's attention has been drawn to an allegation of wrong figures entered into polling unit result sheets in the ongoing Edo State Governorship election. This is the second complaint we have received out of the 4,519 polling units used for the election. The Commission will immediately investigate the matter and deal with any proven infraction. So as we speak, 97% of those results have been uploaded on INEC's viewing portal. What's the implication of this if we have 100% and collation has not started, and then people are noticing some discrepancies in the figures?
You see, you raised an issue earlier. Election ends by 2:30. And I think we provide time for voting. It's high time we provide time for collation. Any result that is not collated within a time frame will not be received. if we could provide time frame that, okay, voting and accreditation starts by 8 a.m., it ends by 2:30 p.m., then collation at the ward level should be a 2-hour spectrum. If you are traveling within a ward, you can't spend, there's no ward in Nigeria that you spend 2 hours to travel from the polling unit to the ward. So those that are closer, you'll have been collating them. Then the ones that will come later, you had it. So we provide a time frame that, okay, between 3 and 5:30 p.m., ward results should be ready. Then between 6 and 8 p.m., the local government result should be ready. There is no local government in Nigeria that it will take you 4 hours to travel to the local government, to get to the local government secretariat. Now, we put a time frame on voters, but when it comes, the real election actually is the collation. Now, you are seeing INEC saying that they've entered some fake results. You and I witnessed it here in the last election, whereby the result that people contested the result that was being declared at the local government collation center as against the one that the original that they have at the polling unit and the ward unit. So look, I'm not excusing INEC from some of the things. How many times have we done election? How many? This is even an off-cycle election. It's just one state. If INEC should deploy all its resources to ensure that there is due diligence, and they use this as a test case to deal with the weaknesses they observe in the election in Imo, in Bayelsa, and in Kogi State, and even in 2023. Don't forget that in 2023 gubernatorial election in Nasarawa State, the election was won with one result from one ward, which was in Lafia, which got to the Lafia is the state collation center. That ward, the result of that ward did not get to the collation center until the second day. So it's important look, if you are using this technology, which one, if this is the backup and it has been uploaded, and then you have your beavers and you have all of that, whatever is here, I believe is authentic compared to whatever anybody is writing on any reason.
Unfortunately, I don't think this one can be tendered in court.
Of course, the law is very clear. The law has already stated that result would be announced at the collation center.
Yes.
Whatever the returning officer announces, that is the result.
That is what's
not what but this is going to provide some level of transparency and caution to people who may be intending.
So that at least you will know that there's a limit to which you can read this.
Yes. And I think INEC is working
in
the direction of transparency by ensuring that its portal has worked to the extent that we could have 97% of results already displayed.
The portal was not used in the last off-cycle election.
No, we're looking at the portal right now. It's saying 97.08%. We now have total submitted results from 4,387 polling units out of 4,590. Do you consider this unprecedented that by 11:31 we already have 97% of results?
It's an improvement. When INEC started this deployment of this tool, it was first used during a state constituency election in Nasarawa State. The next was Edo 2020 Guba election. That's at 7 p.m. in 2020. A good number of results, though not as much as we had as at 7 p.m. this evening. Well, so INEC had used Edo in 2020 to set a good record for the deployment of this tool. And I think today is an improvement. And I think INEC should consolidate on this and avoid a situation whereby we go back to the era of unavailability, just like Doctor said, in Kogi. This was not available for use. In Bayelsa, this was not available for use.
I'm just wondering, what we are scared about, really, Dr. Johson. Because right now, this is 97%. It means, therefore, that if this thing is electronic, we can have real-time 97% of all the results across the polling units. Instead of bringing it back to using white and black pen to tabulate it, what's the challenge here?
It's very clear. There's no law backing it up, and the Supreme Court has ruled on that matter. And then what we expect from the 10 National Assemblies for them to come up with a law to back this up, and that this result validates. What if this result validates what is being declared? This becomes the authentic result, because this is uploaded in real time. This is what happened at the polling unit. As soon as you are through with the election, you upload the result on the IRF. So I think we should appeal to the members of the National Assembly.
Do you think the political will is there to make
for the you see, look, we keep appealing to them because we must get it right. You see, people keep complaining that they are not getting. We like using this word dividend. I don't like dividends because you'll be talking about. That's why they give people crumbs and deliverables. When you promise, you deliver. So that's the reason why we don't get deliverables of democracy, because people that are elected ultimately know quite all right that in most cases their election happens through the court system and through the collation system. It's clear there are thousands of results that we have, evidences that we have with respect to what happened during the day and what happened in the cool of the night through collation. And it is whatever is collated that is declared as, and once you are declared as the winner, you have to go to court. And we had a case of a senator, you recall, in 2019 that won the election. It was a sitting governor. He won election into the Senate, and then the INEC official, the return, said gun was pointed to his head to declare this. The guy served 4 years in the Senate, and nothing happened to that. And so we must tidy up this system. If we don't tidy up our electoral system, we will never get deliverables of democracy.
You know, I've been covering elections for a few years now, and it's always burdensome. This is the most burdensome part of the election. I mean, how can you have computers and you still insist on writing it on paper?
Pen and paper.
It is turning logic on its head.
There's just a simple way forward. The electronic voting system must be consolidated upon to accommodate electronic computation of result. Because now we have advanced. In truth, we're making progress, because in the past, you have to resort to pen and paper for accreditation. You have to look at pictures compared to, now there's an advancement. Even RF is an advancement. So we must begin to demand, or continue to demand, that we improve on the existing introduction of technology into election to the extent that now we cannot accommodate electronic computation of result. And that is the only way we can move from using it for accreditation, for voting, for uploading of result, but not using it to authenticate result.
Let us get feedback from some of the stakeholders in this election. The PDP governorship candidate Aswa Ighodalo has reacted just after he cast, was it before or after? But let's hear from him what he thinks about the whole process.
I'm not very happy with the process that delayed the coming of materials. Again, this is a single state election. INEC has had all the time to prepare, all the resources, and so we shouldn't have had some of the problems we had today. But having said that, the good thing is that the people have been calm, the people have remained very patient, the people are steadfast, and they've made up their mind that they will stay here, they will wait the process, and they will cast their votes. And nothing's going to deter them. So that's good. But then people don't need to go through that hassle and suffering to be able to cast their votes. It's not necessary. But by and large, on balance, our exit polls just show what we knew. So we expect that we will win this election hands down by a landslide. And we'll see what happens. Thereafter we will settle with the people of Edo State, and we will make sure that we move our state to the next level by God's grace. I'm very proud. The Nigerian military has made me extremely proud. They've taken charge. They've shown great responsibility. They've shown that they can protect their people, and I'm extremely proud. And our military, in years gone by, they've always accredited themselves with the best anywhere in the world, and I think they're going back to those days, and I'm truly proud. So all the other people that have been funny in the way they've been carrying out their duties, the military has neutralized them, and I'm so proud. And like I said, the INEC chairman has assured and promised us that there's not going to be any such collusion in this process. Again, I believe him until he proves otherwise. So, by and large, what time is it now? 12:20 today. We're confident, we're okay, we're hopeful. We're not happy about a few ongoings in some places, but we remain confident. Well, if it's the election, we will win hands down.
He is not much of a politician, but it sounds like he's sounding like one who understands the temperature of politics. They say you don't completely load the umpire until you know whether the result is swinging your way. He said a lot of things about how he felt as regards the position of security operatives. We didn't capture everything he said, but he was concerned about what he called partisan support on the part of police personnel. Some huge allegations he made earlier on. What do you make of his reaction to this process?
Well, I think that he commended the military for maintaining neutrality and balance, and what we expect of the police and what we expect of INEC and security agencies is for them to be neutral. And now I've said it over time, until we allow the security agencies to vote through whether early voting or whatever, because they don't participate in the process. Journalists don't participate in the process. We just cover the event. Military don't participate in the process. Police don't participate in the process, so they are not stakeholder. So if you had voted earlier and you are going to monitor the votes, you protect the vote because you're a stakeholder. So in most cases, the critical stakeholder to ensure neutrality and compliance with the law don't have any stake in the election because they don't vote. They don't actually vote, so they don't have any stake. So I'm looking forward to us having an electoral reform that allows journalists, that allows people in security agencies to vote early before the election. So when you vote early and you see that you have voted in one direction and somebody is trying to compromise that election, you protect it because you're a stakeholder. But in this situation, they are no stakeholders. They are detached, and as long as they are detached, it's like a pendulum. Anything can swing them to whichever side you want them to be swung to.
Mr. Lawson, the PDP candidate had some delay in his own polling unit. I recall that he was asking INEC to ensure that the timing is extended. But what did you see from his body language? It was midday and he was still talking about the confidence of winning this election.
Well, the delay is not peculiar to this election. It has become a culture during our elections. And the INEC heeded to the call, extended voting time in places where they were delaying the deployment of election materials. And I think that should be enough to address whatever concern he had, just like some of the persons who had concern about the actual time for voting. For his confidence level, he must have been assessing it from the point of the effort his party has invested into the process prior to this election. But that was not just limited to him. Even I listened to the Labour Party candidate, even the candidate of the APC. They all sound confident that this election will turn out in their favor. But the ultimate decider are the people who have voted, while, of course, we also do hope that has been expressed at the polling stations, reflecting the results that we announced.
They all sound confident until the results start coming in, because only one person will win this election, not two. But let's hear from Adam Soshomale, who is a former governor and who they say is a critical stakeholder in this election. We'll probably have heard from him more than we've heard from the APC candidate. He also reacted to the process.
These people are here, and I know that our next standard policy is that once you have showed up, they will not stop you from voting. I think that has always been their standard thing. Now the people are here. I don't see anybody who is going to tell them not to vote. So I think the problem will due to the media. Don't focus on the alleged negative. Because what you are telling me now, I have not seen it in the camera. Talk to me about what you are seeing here. Eyewitness, not hear, see. You understand? So, but my happiness is that these people who are the forgotten majority of rural people are showing to the elite hunger is not a reason for us to sell our votes. We will queue. We will not fight. Some people said this election will not take place. There will be do or die. Other people say they will blood. So whatever has to be done to put those guys who want to disrupt peaceful. Now, these guys are here peacefully. If they find somebody planning somewhere how to come and hijack this outcome, it makes sense to prevent him from doing so. We will allow one person to veto what hundreds or thousands of people are doing. So for me, that is it. You know, we must protect the system. The people want democracy. They don't want dictatorship, including civilian dictatorship. And civilian dictator is anyone who, through the instrument of gun or other violent means, prevent people from voting with a view to falsify outcome in his favor. And everything has to be done to put those minority, no more than 0.0001% of people who want to undermine democracy, they have to be dealt with so that the majority of the people's interests can be protected and the will of the people prevail.
The comrade governor, who is now a senator, they say Shomole knows how to win elections. He fought his victory in court the first time, won a second time, got his godson to succeed him. They fell out, and then he lost in 2020 thereabout. But he's won election in Edo North, and this time around, do you agree with the school of thought that this election is actually between Oshomole and Obaseki?
He campaigned more than the governor himself. He appeared on media interviews. He did more media rounds than Obakpolo, and he seems to be more the face of APC in contesting the election in Edo State compared to the candidate himself. So he's more or less like the critical stakeholder. It's like a contest between the godfather and the godson, deciding who succeed them. Obaseki succeeded Oshiomhole before they fell out. So I think that whether we like it or not, the issue of godfatherism is still prevalent in our polity, and even some of the statement made by the comrade governor are self-indicting statement with respect to talking about the silent majority and the elite. Is the governor not an elite? He's talking about, and then for me, I think that the political class need to sit down and look into the mirror and reflect. If you look at the places where elections are conducted, they find it easy to go to those places to cast their votes every 4 years. And then after that election, do they remember to go back and put some certain infrastructure? That's the polling unit of a two-term governor, of a sitting senator, of a national party chairman. You could see the polling unit. The polling unit is a primary school. You could see the premises of that primary. It's an indictment of the entire political class. Now you will see where the governor actually voted to, Obaseki. The polling unit he voted. You look at the primary school to which he voted. We are going to see the primary school in which Obakpolo, the APC governor, gubernatorial candidate, voted to. So you see when the political class come and they try to gaslight with the media that the media are not doing this, the media are not doing that. What else does he want the media to do than what they are doing by asking questions and putting it on them as regards what they are going to do for the populace? The question we need to ask is, who are the silent majority? Who are the silent minority that is talking about? And who are the elites that is talking about? It is not about wearing khaki, left, right, and center that makes you to be an elite. So all this populist idea will not help us in this country. We have seen populism. Where has it taken us to? The bottom line is those that we have elected into public office, let them deliver for the people. If you don't deliver, you don't deserve.
Very interesting development in Edo State. My previous guest was talking about how Oshomole became governor on the back of fighting Godfatherism. And then you recall that even in the last election, that was what Obaseki talked about. Both of them seem to be in the same situation now, trying to front for another person to succeed them.
Yes, just like you earlier said, even though we didn't say much of the APC candidates, during media round, during the campaign, same of comrade, you also agree that Mr. Obaseki appeared on a number of times as if he was actually the candidate for this election also, even though his candidate was visible and was seen all over the media. So it was a battle of survival for these political godfathers, as the case may be, while Comrade Adams want to, affirm his authority and sustain his political leadership. the outgoing governor is also trying to build the same culture, thereby nullifying the claim earlier that, no, this was about defeating a godfather, because here is another emerging godfather. And I think this is synonymous to our politics. It has become like the norm. And in few instances where a candidate emerges as winner of an election without the support of his predecessor, you realize that such states are practically turned into theater of discordance and war throughout the tenure of such governor. It is because largely our people are not taking the center stage, are not showing enough strength in establishing the fact that they should be the real godfathers to candidates, to political parties. The people have taken the back seat, allowing very few influential individuals to take the driver's seat and begin to, dictate what becomes the fortune of a candidate, what ordinarily should be the dictate of the mass population of the people.
Absolutely.
It's becoming...
One would have thought that with what we saw in Rivers State and a couple of other states, that politicians will be less interested in the person who succeeds them, because the fact that your candidate wins doesn't necessarily mean that you will win that person's loyalty forever. But I'm concerned about what this means for continuity in governance. I was speaking with Philip Shoaibu the other day about Obaseki's master plan that is expected to guide governance in the coming tenors and what have you. And he was saying that he disagreed completely with him, that how can you bring up a master plan 2 or 3 months before the expiration of your tenure? You can already feel the sense that if another party emerges, it's probably going to rubbish everything that's been done in the past years.
Even if the same party emerge, after the election, the guy will start his own project. I just returned from Kaduna this evening. I was in Kaduna for more than a week. Basoni succeeded El Rufai, and then the projects that El Rufai started, Basoni has not touched. So some of them, that's even from the same party, from the same political family. So what the fact that even if Azwe should win this election, or if Obiakpolo should win, they are not bound to follow.
Obiakpolo.
Oh, sorry. It's on Monday. I'll use Monday. Monday senator. I'll use the senator for him. I'll use senator so that I don't suffer the problem. A lot of Americans are suffering. Trying to pronounce Kamala Harris, whether it's Kamala or Kamala or whatever. So senator, please, I apologize. Senator Monday, if he wins the election, he's not duty bound to go by what Obaseki has laid down and then Obaseki is trying to play smart. Why wait to 3 months to the end of your administration before you come up with a master plan? But the real issue is the challenge you have had from 1999 to date is about continuity in government.
Indeed.
People tend to personalize governance. We knew a lot of things that are also initiated in Ogun State in terms of those. You can see those monuments, those bridges in Akute, in Alagbole, everywhere. You can see them all over the states. As soon as the new governor came in, he didn't touch it. He will start his own project. And whose fund is being wasted? And I think that we need to look into that. Probably the National Assembly need to look into that and legislate on that particular matter. That once at the expiration of any administration, any project that is budgeted for, you can't do a project without a budget. The budget is a law. It's a bill that has been passed into an act of the parliament to be complied with the successor. And then we begin to have meaningful development across the state. Otherwise, we have stopgap project. Now, this project is started. There's one project that Amici started from
monorail.
Exactly. From the airport down to in Port Harcourt. Wike did not touch it for 8 years. And whose fund was invested in that? It was River State Fund. It was not Amici's fund. It was not Wike's fund. There's every likelihood that Fubaratu will not touch some of the projects that Wike left behind. So we shouldn't. It's the personalization of governance. Governance shouldn't be personalized. You are contesting election to win and to run for the larger interest of the populace. And it is public fund that is being expended. It's not your father's money. So once someone starts a project, you can complete the project. It's on record that, okay, so person started this project, so person completed the project. I recall there was a crisis when the dancing governor, his first 100 days, you know what he did when he first became governor was to complete the project that Oyetola started, initiated, and people said, "Oh, he did not start. He did not do any project in his first one." And it created a paradigm shift in his approach. But that's the way governance should be. I shouldn't be afraid or too proud to continue the project you have started.
Isn't that even the wise thing to do? It saves you money. I mean, it saves you time. Something that's already started, you finish. I think Fubara also did that with some of the projects. But looking beyond all of these, what do you think is the problem? Is it a legislative issue or just a problem with the leadership?
It's about the problem of institution. What we call master plan in most cases are merely individual ambition of people who occupy position. Like for instance, you're governor for 8 years, you're bringing a plan in 3 months. It's just about your individual ambition. Master plan in the real sense of it are state policies, the institutional plans that whoever becomes whatever must work with, irrespective of where he's coming from, irrespective of the political family or party is coming. But when we misinterpret individual ambitions or individual plan as state master plans, then you continue to have what we are saying all over the place. A lot is invested in a project, and that is why Lagos is always an example. Whether you like it or not today, this is one of the very few states where you've not had the tragedy of abandoned projects. Because it is beyond the fact that when Ashwaju became governor in 1999 to 2007, that he's an ambitious person, he has his ambition. I think the state has been able to adopt, and that is why if anybody becomes the governor of Lagos State today and now begin to initiate the culture of abandoned project, it will look so alien to the people that it will be very easy to call such a person out.
That's right.
But in most cases, people come with their individual ambitions, something they have dreamt about in the corner of their bedroom, and they bring it up as a master plan, and the moment they leave, the successor comes in and have his own dream again from the comfort of his bedroom and call it the state master plan. And we have had all sort of master plans for one state, none of which has ever been successfully executed. So just like Doctor said, we must be able to define what is called a master plan. It must be institutionalized to the extent that there are laws that must back it up. That if there are policies established by our predecessors, if there are projects initiated by, as a matter of state principle, such projects must not be abandoned. Because these are not your personal project or personal dreams, as long as they are funded by the commonwealth of the people.
Absolutely.
Let me just quickly add this. On that note, we are telling the governor of Lagos State to come and help us do the Fagba Bridge. That project was initiated. It was initiated in 2015. So that Fagba Bridge, to cross over the rail and to provide leverage for that particular, that project has been on the drawing paper for close to 8 years now. We need that bridge to be done.
In the spirit of continuity.
In the spirit, thank you very much.
In the spirit of continuity, let us talk about zoning and power sharing in Edo State, because that played a significant role. The sentiment that power must return to Edo Central, where they have not produced a governor in so many years, and APC and PDP complied, except for the Labour Party that went with Edo South. How much do you think that we have reached that gentleman agreement, across board, where we can tell that it is my time, it is your turn? We've had this conversation about it's about competence. And then the other people will say you can find competence in all of the regions. That doesn't mean you should neglect a region forever.
Who are those that created the Edo South, the Edo North, Edo what have you? I love the system they adopt in the United States. If you are contesting for the Senate, it's a statewide office. You contest throughout the state. You are senator representing Texas, senator representing what have you, not the senator representing a particular. Those senatorial districts were creation of military regime. They were not creation of the people. It was not people that bound them together. Don't forget that the constitution we are using is 1999, is a byproduct of the 1995 Constituent Assembly, which was meant to perpetuate Abacha in power forever, and that was given to Justice Nikitobi and 13 others to review, which gave us the 1999 Constitution as amended. When you look at this senatorial district, let me talk about, in Lagos State, for example, there are 20 local governments. But you know, in Lagos West, how many local governments constitute Lagos West? It's 10. Okay. And 5 for the others. So if I'm senator representing Lagos West, I have to do twice as much as what 2 others. And so you see, all of these creation, they were artificial creation for political expediencies by the political class. As far as governance is concerned, governance does not look at you whether you are from Edo South, Edo North, or Edo East, or whether you are from the North or you are from the South. I keep telling people, at a point in time in the old Oyo State, the governor and the deputy were from the same division. They were from the same division. Bola Ige and Afolabi. SM Afolabi. In 79, Babaja Konde and Chief Rafiu Javojo. Babaja Konde ran from Ilupeju, which is Mushin. Mushin is under Lagos, what you call Lagos West. Agege is under Lagos West. Both of them ran from that same. You see, all of this does not help us. We must get to the point in which that whoever the best man, let the best man do the job. When it comes to governance, governance does not distinguish between North, East, West, or whatever. These are just artificial.
Again, it is what is ideal versus what is real. Because I'm wondering what happened between that time that is referring and this time where it actually matters to the people, or is it the politicians that have so much emphasized beyond the reality of the people?
No. It's beyond political manipulation. Between the period of 1973 and now, our country, whether we like it or not, has become so polarized in a manner it was never within those periods.
Along ethnic and
to the extent that we have become so sensitive to our ethnic, to our religions. But in actual fact, it has gotten to a point that when it is now zoned to those senatorial districts as artificially created, then you now begin to say the former one was a Christian, now he should be a Muslim. That is how terrible it has gone. And it is a reality that we are currently living with. Because ordinarily, one would have expected that a democracy that is growing should continue to advance to the extent that we can operate on the basis of merit and collective aspiration as a people. But until we address the divisions that have been created between that period and now, along ethnic, along religious sentiment, and some other factors that have polarized our people, we may not be able to go back to those days where we look at our best from wherever they are coming from and make them governors, president, or whatever.
Or maybe we've also not had excellent leadership to model, leadership across board. Because the reason why people in a particular ethnic zone will want someone from their midst to become governor is perhaps what they think they will benefit directly from him because of ethnic affiliation.
If you have had credible leadership that are excellent in performance, people will not be so much concerned about having their brother or their constituents as emerging as governor or whatever.
Some have made reference to how universities came into their town because of the governor who was a power.
Okay, it's good. Very, very good. And after the university came to their town, everybody in the town became a university.
Got a job.
Like he said, I didn't deep that even if you want to become a VC, a vice chancellor of the Ivory Tower, it depends on the local government you come from. Even if you are from the same state, it happened in University of Obafemi Awolowo University, where we were saying that the person is even from Osun State, but it's not an Ife indigene. That they wanted, you could imagine how we have micromanaged all of this. You see, the bottom line is the presidency has been to Katsina twice. Have you traveled through the road that leads to Katsina? The presidency has been to Bayelsa. The presidency has been to Abeokuta. Try and go to Abeokuta through water. The presidency, in this dispensation, the presidency has been to Abeokuta. The speaker has been to Abeokuta. Dimeji Bankole, Obasanjo. Try and go to Ota try and go to Abeokuta through Songwater, if you can go through it. Now, have you traveled through Abuja, Kaduna?
By road?
Have you traveled through it before? Ask those that have traveled through it. You wonder, that's the pass way from the Federal Capital Territory to the north. That road is a disservice to everybody that has ever occupied any position in Nigeria from the north. That Abuja, Kaduna, that's the passway. You know, Kaduna is to the north what Ibadan, what Lagos is to the west. And Kano is to the north what Ibadan is. So you need to go to that, and you wonder that, oh, you have had presidents, you have had ministers of works, minister of this, minister of that. I'm talking presently, just go to that route. And you wonder that, you mean, and you see leaders that have occupied different positions in Nigeria, passing through that same, so that the governor is coming from your village or is coming from your town does not solve the problem of your town. And the reason why people clamor for it's our turn is because probably what you said earlier, so that university can come to our town. When University of Ibadan was established, when it was established, Awolowo was not from Ibadan. When UI, when the first stadium in Africa, the first TV station in Africa, the tallest building in Africa were built, it was not built in Remo. It was not built in it was not built in Remo land. It was not built in, I want to remember Baba Awolowo's hometown now.
Ikene.
It was not built in Ikene. Go to Ikene and show me any structure that Awolowo put there, that they put in place there. But till date, everybody still make reference. If you still want to travel to Ibadan through Ijebu side, the road that was constructed by Western Regional Government is still far better than most of in terms of the quality of that road, than most of the roads that we have now. And until we change that perspective, that, it must come from my town, it must come from my village, it must come from this, we will not make any meaningful progress. When people talk about those zones, it's for their own selfish interest. It's not for the larger interest of the people. Okay, we saw while your reporter was going to cover, while we were monitoring the news, when he was going to cover, you know how many hours it took them to get to where the senator voted because of the poor state of the. On that note, the governor's candidate shouldn't even win the election in terms of the quality of roads that you have in Edo State.
Very, very, very interesting development. I like the way you put it, but I'm just considering what do we do from where we are to where we're supposed to get. But we're going to discuss that shortly. Let's return to the field where Theophilus Elema is standing by. It's been a long day. Theo, where are you and what's happening where you are? Theophilus, are you there? All right. While we're waiting to connect with Theophilus, and I believe Ikena Amechi, Ikena is also standing by in Benin. Recall that on election eve, we just got a letter that Olubide Akpata had stepped down for another candidate. Unfortunately, it was on a day where NBC had instructed that television and radio stations cannot mention party names and what have you. I'm sure you're used to such political dynamics on election eve. Do they really impact on the chances of a candidate?
There's the evil of some of the evil, one of those evils that the social media has brought upon us as a society, and it has often not, made any impact because it is not coming out for the first time. It has often been on election eve. You hear announcement through the social media or some other unconventional platforms about people stepping down for one. So I don't think that has any significant effect, especially on the likely generation of people that would have voted for him, because a lot of them are conversant with this tradition of fake news and are conscious of the fact that if that would happen, there are channels that are authentic, that would have come from, not from all those faceless handles and platforms.
You agree with him that people are not that gullible?
Yeah, to a large extent, people are conscious of even whatever you see on social media, they want to validate from the mainstream media. The mainstream media still remains the validation for a lot of people, for them to validate whatever they are exposed to. So everybody take whatever he or she sees on with a pinch of salt, and then begin to question, is this true? Could this be true? And then, the verification process starts, and people start asking questions, and before you know it, the rumor is dispelled. And we've seen this type of deep fakes over time, and that on the eve of the election, so the president has stepped down, that it has become a common knowledge to everybody that these are games and gimmicks that some people are playing. But my own take on this matter is, there is someone that generated this first. This person can be trapped and should be prosecuted. Whoever is responsible for this is subverging the democratic process. When you subvert the democratic process, it's treason and felony. We need to establish that. When you snatch ballot box, it is treason and felony. It's not different from someone that uses a gun to topple a government, because in democracy, power comes from the ballot box. And if you subvert that process, you are committing treason and felony. And that needs to be established. And these are the ways in which we deepen democracy. I hope those that have been arrested for sharing money in this election will be prosecuted. It will not be the business as usual that the police will tell us, EFCC has arrested this, and at the end of the not a single person will be prosecuted. Where is Kudu Abubakar, Audu Abubakar, the INEC commissioner for Adamawa State? What has happened to that case?
Theophilus is back. Hi, Theophilus, where are you? And what's the update where you are?
All right, Femi, we are at the collation center in Edo State here at Aduawa Axis, and of course we are hearing, of course, that's information we have from our reporter hall, that the collation center, the collation there has been brought down to this particular INEC office here, and we saw some of the officials just some minutes ago coming in to continue the collation. And of course, we see that nothing has started here at this point. Journalists are waiting and eagerly waiting for news from INEC officials as to the next thing that we're going to do. But right now, I have a colleague of mine, Ikenna Michi, who've been covering the elections since morning, all the way here. Ikenna was at Uromi this morning, and we covered all the way into Benin City. First of all, how was it covering elections in Uromi and coming here this evening?
Right, so we actually started coverage in
Wohimi, yeah.
And of course, that's where one of the leading or a major political party candidate hails from. And of course, it was delayed because officials of INEC didn't arrive early, and no thanks to the rain, that actually set out very early in that area. They said for some time it has not rained, only for it to rain that morning, and it actually affected the movement of logistics to that area, and of course affected the time that the process started at about 11 o'clock. And we found out that it affected the whole process because the people were eager to actually come out, even while it was raining, to exercise their franchise, but they were not to do so early enough because of the fact that the INEC officials couldn't arrive on time. And generally, it was people trying to vote and election materials not arriving late, all through Ewohime. Ewohime has 2 wards, and that was just what played out in that area. And coming from Ewohime to Ubiaja, the local government headquarters of Esan South is still the same ball game. And while we were returning, because it took some time before the process started, and so when it started, we needed to just gain some time before we went into other areas. And in covering other areas, it was just like the same phenomenon, just played across Ubeji and Uromi. But while coming down to Benin, we still saw that some people started quite early and they finished on time, and collation has already been done. So sometimes we wonder why, if those areas have concluded their, results in that polling station, why is the results not trickling in right now at the state collation center for us to, because Nigerians, everybody is eager. This election is one of the contentious elections in recent times, and of course people are eager to know what the result of this election is. This is Saturday night after the elections. We should be hearing result, not speculations, that people are actually putting on air and putting on the social media space, and some people are buying it, but those are not results from the Independent Electoral Commission. And we are hoping and waiting that the results will start trickling in.
What's your mindset about all of this now? We're still here waiting, and we saw Oredo collation continuing very soon. What has been running through your mind as we keep vigil and await INEC to give us possibly start the collation here?
Well, because of the way that the election has gone and the hype of the election and the contentious nature of the election, we're waiting for the results to be announced. And of course, everybody, observers, politicians, they are all glued to their television station now, waiting to hear the first local government that will come and who will be leading in that local government, and stop all the speculation that are just spreading across the social media space, which is not actually good and healthy for people's health. When you have all those speculation, at the end of the day, if it doesn't turn out to be what it is, probably, we know that during a football match, Nations Cup, somebody died because of as a result of VAR. Let people not get those results. So we're actually advising that people should just disregard some of all those results that is speculated on the internet and wait for INEC. This is the collation center. This is where the results will be announced. All the results from the first local government to the 18th local government, all will be announced here, and the winner will emerge here.
And it's also worthy to note that the security arrangement here is quite tight. We see security men both within and outside the INEC office keeping the peace and ensuring that everything goes on fine, and we see that the result comes out on time, and media houses are waiting. Everybody is going live. TVC News is going live, and we will ensure that everyone can watch and monitor the election or the collation right on TVC News.
Well, thank you, Theo, for the update there. Beyond the journalists in that collation center, have you cited any INEC officials? Do you have any information from them as to when Nigerians can expect this process to commence?
We've cited some INEC officials, yes, but we haven't gotten information from any of them. Now, the only information we have right now is the fact that Oredo collation will start at this National Collation Center here in Edo State, somewhere within the compound. But that's the information we have at this point. But once we have them, we'll definitely get them. But at this point, no INEC official has given us information. In fact, we're waiting, believing that this collation will start either tonight. This is past 12. Well, it's safe to say early morning. So we hope it will start this morning or anytime soon. So that's what the information we are just waiting for from INEC officials to give us, so we can know what next to do.
What's the security like around the State Collation Center in Benin?
Well, security arrangement is quite tight, Femi. Actually, there are guard dogs outside, and there are security operatives there are lots of them outside, and so it will be difficult for anyone who has no business here to just waltz in and expect to gain entrance. It will be very difficult. So security arrangement is quite tight, and everyone is just waiting with bated breath to when this will start.
Are there any political party representatives at the center yet?
All right, for now, we haven't seen any of those. Earlier, we saw a candidate of one of the major political parties outside with his deputy, but he didn't come in. But aside that, we haven't seen any other person yet, and we expect that they will also come in, and we expect that they are also in their various collation centers in the different local governments monitoring the exercise. And once it trickles in, we expect that other agents will come in.
Thank you so much, Theophilus Elama and Ikenamechi, for the update there. We'll return to you when you have more for us in the coming hours. The wait is still on, and we can't tell when the collation will commence. Already sorting, counting, and indeed collation at the ward level has been concluded. We have updates on the collation that was ongoing at the Oredo local government area, which has now been suspended, but we hear has resumed somewhere within the State Collation Center. Dr. Johson and Mr. Lawson, thank you for staying the course on the program this morning. Let me say good morning to you. We have crossed into a new day. Let us look at some of the battleground local government areas for this election. 3 senatorial districts. The bulk of the votes, we understand, are in Edo South. Edo Central is where both the candidates of the APC and PDP are from. Edo North, they said there's some guy they call the king of the North in this election. But how do you think voters decide in this election? Let's begin from Edo South. Who are those individuals, and what are those concerns that you think drove the pattern with which voters decided?
I think majorly population. If you look at the voting population, Edo South comes with the highest, because that's where you find the state capital, Benin, having 2 major local governments of Oredo and Ikoba Oha, then coupled with other neighboring local governments. So population is a major factor. Then if you look at the senatorial district arrangement, then you go to the north, where you also have some populated local government like the Esako West, Esako East, Akoko Edo, and then 3 others. Then before coming to the central, which is the least, even in terms of population and the voting population in the state. So that has majorly been the driving factor behind the voting pattern. So it is presumed that in every election in Edo State, any candidate that must come out with a good showing must be seen to have done well in this major central district of Edo North, and most importantly, Edo South.
The Edo State governor is from Edo South, and that's where the candidate of the Labour Party is also from. The other candidates have running mates from Edo South. How do you think that plays out in favor of the PDP?
Well, it's a base election. It's a base election in the sense that North is APC, South is PDP, and what altered the calculation of PDP in the South is the coming out of the Labour Party candidate, even from the same local government.
With the outgoing.
With the outgoing governor, even the same word from the outgoing governor in Oredo local government. So it's a base who is able to return. Earlier when the vote was being returned, I told you that there's a game. Don't forget, there's a theory of politics which is called game theory. Just like you watch football, and you look at what happened in the first half. If you see the score in the first half, you know how many goals you must score in the second half to win the election. So if you need the help of the referee to award you 3 penalty kicks, if your opponent is leading by 2-0, so you can approach the referee in his referee room, and the referee will award you 2 penalty kicks. It's not 3 penalty. It's not out of place. Bayern played in the course of this week, and they were given 4 or 5 penalty kicks in one game.
Are there penalty kicks in the election?
There are penalty kicks in election.
At the collation center.
At the collation center, if you really know the nitty-gritty of the process, and that's why we do a lot of our collation.
But I think it works in such a way that I found it difficult to understand how easy it is to manipulate election in this Beavers regime, because it is done in such a way that We already know the number of PVCs collected per polling unit. Now, the accreditation, the system should also tell the number of people who were accredited. So you can't possibly add more numbers than what is available on these machines.
Did you see the result of Kogi State? I said here in this studio that the analysis, the outcome of the election results has paralyzed our analysis. We engaged in paralysis while they were doing what they were doing.
And it was upheld by the Supreme Court.
Yeah. You saw it's against any statistics. If you're a student of statistics, you know the outcome in those places were close to 100%, 98%. Same thing happened in Imo. In some local government, you have 98% voters turnout. Whereas the average turnout of the election in other local government is traveling around 35 to 38, 40% voters turnout. Then you now have a cluster of local government, 3 or 4 local government where you have 98%.
Maybe they are more politically aware than the others.
Politically, we have never had, the last time we had such turnout was in 2003.
Long before PVC.
It was in 2003.
Long before
where we have, in Rivers State then, when Saudili was the governor, we had an election in one particular area, 90,000 registered, 90,000 voted for PDP.
But jokes apart,
these are reality. These are just the reality of time. So
in Akoko Edo, where there are 143,851 PVCs collected, this report, according to Yaga, is showing us 100% PVC collection rate in Akoko Edo. So if you have 90% voter turnout, are you going to debate it?
Now, I'll give you true account. Have they cleaned the voters? Have they cleaned the voters list? I voted the last election. I usually ensure I voted. My late wife, her name is still on that voters list. Do we clean voters roll in Nigeria? And she died in 2019. We voted in 2023. My name is after her name. It's still on that voters list. Do we clean it? So when people talk about these figures, because if you really understand the nitty-gritty of the election, when do we clean our voters' roll from those that have deceased? When? And now somebody will just come and be giving us those figures and the rest. I knew friends that have died whose name are still on the voters' roll. It's peculiar to each and every one of us that is seated here. So where do they clean? So INEC will come, 97% voters collected, 90%. So we don't clean our voters' roll. So they will tell you the number of PVC. My late wife collected the PVC. The PVC is still at home. As far as the record of INEC is concerned, she's an active voter. She's an alive voter. And yes, she died in December. She died December 2019. So the bottom line is that we use statistics to gloss over the reality of what is on ground and what is the real issue. There is no, even in civilized climate, you don't have 65% voters turnout. You don't have 60, where they even have early voting, where they have electronic voting, where they have mail-in voting. You don't have 65% voters turnout. It's not possible. And then in an election, in the same election, in the same state, in the same area, one particular area we have 100%, and some, oh no. These are just unimaginable. They are just unbelievable.
Let's talk about the need for. Do you think that this is another opportunity for INEC to redeem its image? Some recommendations have talked about the need for the Commission to ensure strict compliance with guidelines for the result collation, right? Specifically, party agents, accredited media, and election observers should be granted access to the result collation center. At this point, what is INEC's responsibility, in ensuring more accountability and transparency?
The first responsibility of INEC is to adhere to its own already set guidelines. But these are guidelines set by INEC itself. And if INEC is not abiding by it, then the question of transparency is missing. So moving forward, INEC must first and foremost be seen to be transparent by playing by its own set rule. Then after that, we can now begin to talk about other stakeholders coming to play their role, security agencies, ensuring that there's, safety around collation, the media ensuring that it does its job in, making sure that the people outside are informed about events within the collation center, while other stakeholders are also monitoring the process. That is the only way INEC can come out and say it has conducted a credible election.
At this point now, should INEC be talking to the people as to what's happening? Why is the collation center not open? Is it an obligation for them to communicate it?
It is. You read a tweet by INEC just a couple of minutes ago. INEC must do more of that in reporting the situation around the collation centers. A lot of people are anxiously waiting outside. They should know if this collation is continuing tonight or is rescheduled for some other hours. So INEC has a duty to work with the media by continually informing the people, because the process is still on. The election is still on. And until the final whistle, which is the announcement of a winner, INEC has a duty to keep informing the people.
What do you think INEC has missed here? Because in the morning it was the challenge with transportation of election materials. At this point now, we are looking at a situation where we're not sure what's happening at the collation centers, especially at the local government areas. How do you think that gap can be bridged in future elections?
In 2020, by this time, the result of Edo, almost all of the local government were already out. 4 years after, we have not even gotten the result of one local government. And we did 2020 election, 2023 election, we had off-cycle election, and then there was no post-mortem with respect to what we got right, what we got wrong. There is this arrogance. There is this arrogance by INEC, which is like NNPC. There are some supra institutions that are behaving as if they are bigger than the states. One, until Dangote Refinery came on board, NNPC never issued statement, successive statement telling you and I what is the factor behind. This was the first time. INEC has never explained any issue relating to. Now, what stops INEC from coming out? And then the chief spokesman of INEC, okay, this is a challenge we have in Edo. Give us update regularly on what is going on in Edo. All of us are just in the dark. And then all of a sudden, somebody will just appear and they will bring one VC. And the VC will say, okay, we are starting collation, we are stopping collation, we are starting collation. And I've said it, the destruction or the reconstruction of Nigeria is tied to the ivory tower. Because those, we said secondary school teachers, we used to use secondary school teachers and principal for election collation in the past. Then we resort to using VCs and professors, thinking that they are of higher caliber and higher status. And we've been disappointed by these people that you think that are above, but that they will be able to uphold and
your
sustain.
people.
Yeah, it's in the industry I belong to. I know what I'm talking about. Now, we've seen the performances of VCs across board concerning 2023 election. Should we entrust such responsibility on those category of people moving forward? So there are a lot of things that we need to look at. Now, who is the INEC chairman answerable to? Now, we were here in this studio when the collation for Imo was being done. And then the Labour Party candidate, the agent, who happens to be a lawyer, was thrown out because he was asking questions. Now, one of the beauty of democracy is majority will have their way. Minority will have their say. Nobody in democracy, you don't suppress anybody's view, no matter how contrary his view is to your own opinion. We were there. And those security agents, the DSS, the SSS, what have you, were watching. They sat live, we were in this studio, live. And they were watching when they threw this lawyer because he was asking legitimate questions that the returning officer will have just answered ABC. Now, in most cases, these people think they are not answerable to you and I. In democracy, the ultimate employer of anybody, whether NNPC, whether president, whether governor, is the people. Sovereignty resides with the people. So we deserve answers. But you look at the arrogance with which the INEC chairman goes about with not having to explain anything to Nigerians. What is done is perfect. Our elections perfect. Our elections perfect. Are there needs for? There's nothing that is perfect. There's nothing. But are there needs for improvement? But if you don't accept responsibility for your function, you will not understand the areas of improvement that you need to improve on. And that's the challenge you have. In 2020, Edo result was almost out. By now, the result, now look at where we are. You brought us to the studio. All of us, we bothered sleep, thinking that we'll be doing collation. Now you have seen that the actual what they are doing has paralyzed our activity.
No, there are more registered voters this year. Maybe that's why.
No, I watched the increase in 2015 to 2020 was 14%. The increase in 2020 was 15.9%. So it was still within the same.
No, by the time you even calculate the number of PVCs collected, it's still like 2.2 million. So it's still not a far.
So how many minutes?
It's not far fetched from.
Let's allocate minutes to counting 2 million ballots.
No, there is no way that you will even have up to 2 million in this election.
No, I'm just saying. Let's say we have 2 million ballots to count. 2 million ballots to count. We'll count it in 2 hours, maximum. 2 million ballots to count 2 million ballots, and the entire ballot. You see the outcome of this election. The winner will not get up to 300,000 votes.
Very likely.
The winner, if he gets 300,000, it will be marginal over 300,000 votes. So if you total the entire votes you are going to get from Edo State, it's like about 1 million. Now, election ended 2:30 p.m. So how many hours is it taking us to count 1 million ballots? If it's to count 1 billion naira and take it to, you will take it to. But before you bat your.
Have you noticed that pretty much the way we measure INEC's performance is a function of perception? Most times, maybe who wins the election, right? The perception of the people that the election was free and fair. Do we have a standard minimum, a minimum measure or a minimum standard by which INEC's performance is being measured at all of these elections?
The best should have been compliance to the laid down rules. If elections are conducted, going by the rules often set by INEC itself, going by the dictate of the Electoral Act, going by the dictate of the Constitution, we may not need some extra thinking or some extra analysis to determine if this election is free or if the outcome is acceptable or not. Because we would have known that INEC has followed all the rules made by INEC itself. INEC has followed all the dictates of the Electoral Act to the extent that the outcome of the election is a product of every step expected of INEC and stakeholders to take. But the moment you begin to boycott your own rule, you begin to jump the queue, avoiding even the set guidelines that you made by yourself, it's already casting doubt about the credibility of such election. So INEC must do everything possible to avoid boycotting its own rule, to avoid boycotting the dictate of the Electoral Act, just like every other stakeholders too. That is one sure way. You don't need, any analysis. You don't need any calculation or assumption or prediction or prophecy to actually determine if this election comes out free or fair.
Recall that the PDP had written a letter to INEC, complaining about the position of the resident electoral commissioner, his affiliation with the Minister of FCT, and whether or not he served under his cabinet. I spoke with him a couple of days ago, I think it was yesterday, and he was saying, well, there's no crime in being with his cousin, that he's an associate professor of law, and that his name is also at stake, and that the fact that he's someone's cousin doesn't disqualify him from serving. Do you think that that concern puts the commission and the person in question under pressure to perform at par, in line with the laws and, the guidelines of this exercise?
Definitely. And that is, fortunately being an off-cycle election, the resident electoral commissioner have little or no significant role to play because virtually all other national commissioners are brought in. Even the national commissioner is brought in to take charge of what ordinarily will be the role of the REC in the national election. But the people who have raised concern have valid reasons to do so, especially when you look at the character of his cousin or whatever he is, that the FCT minister, if you look at his political posture, if you look at his character politically, you'll be concerned as a politician about the influence he may likely have
But interestingly,
on his cousin.
that concern...
But just like
yes.
Prof said, he also has his name, he has his identity, he has his integrity, just like he said.
Would that concern have been raised if Wike was working
In the
with the
PDP?
Because he mentioned that he's been there for almost a year. And that the National Assembly even passed him and nobody screened him.
And there were PDP members in the...
And there were PDP members in the National Assembly.
That takes us to a larger issue, which I've advocated on. If you look at the, I don't know whether it's the 4th or 5th schedule or what have you of the Constitution, and said INEC, this is the heading, certain executive body. The INEC, there are agencies of government that says certain executive body. That's the way you are crafted. I'm of the opinion that INEC should be taken to the National Judicial Council. The appointment and membership of whoever is serving should be taken away from the presidency, from the executive, and should be vested in. He who pays the piper dictates the tune. There's no doubt if you appoint me into office, if you don't have direct authority, there is this moral obligation on my part. Are you getting my point? The situation whereby we have card-carrying members of political party becoming, it's like having a World Web. I'm a Manchester United fan. The present PGMO of England is Howard Webb. When he was the head of referee in England, a lot of fans, those that are watching will tell you, they used to accuse Howard Webb of favoring Manchester United under Alex Ferguson. Now, where you have the just like a lot of people are accusing Anthony Taylor and the rest of them of favoring Man City because they are going to United Arab Emirates to officiate game during the week and the rest of it. So a situation whereby the official, the referee, has some tinge of political bias. We are all human. Even God said, I am partial. I will have mercy on whom I will have mercy on, and I will be hard on whom. That's God. From my faith, it is not of him that wills, not of him, but God. So if God himself could say he's partial, how much more we mere mortal men? So if somebody has a political, affiliation, and is an official in it, now we must put it in law that if you want to be INEC commissioner, you should not be a member of a political party. That's a referee cannot be supporting a football team. It doesn't make any sense. And so those that raise that concern have genuine concern. But like you said, if it's of the same political persuasion with them,
would they have raised the concern?
They wouldn't have raised that issue. And if you look at the elections we have conducted at the local government level, apart from the one we conducted in 1998, December 1998, which was universal to kickstart this Fourth Republic, every other election after that at the state level conducted by the State Independent Electoral Commission has been a sham.
But do you think that the National Assembly is also providing that quality gatekeeping? Remember at the time the former President Buhari was going to nominate a particular woman as National Commissioner. The lawmakers raised exception to it and her name was dropped. Should people who are so invested politically pass through that screening process if lawmakers were paying attention?
We don't have a National Assembly, I'm sorry to say.
No, we do.
We don't.
We
now, the
actually
National
do.
Assembly is the retirement home for former governors who are ruled as executive.
That
who
won't be a very
I-
fair way to put it. What's
No,
the
there are former
percentage?
governors.
What's the percentage of former
Who are
governors
those
in the
in,
National
who are those in
Assembly?
leadership? Who are those in leadership of that institution? Who are those in leadership of that institution? Is the retirement of former governors. Now, they come with their executive mentality. You know, the mindset with which you engage in lawmaking is different from the mindset with which you engage in an executive position. You are not answerable to anybody. The legislature is based on collective responsibility. And you have seen a lot of things that has happened with respect to the conduct of the National Assembly in terms of asserting their own measure of independence. The independence is for them to provide checks and balances. You recall, under the Ninth Assembly, whatever was presented by the president then, in terms of loan, it was after the former president left office that they started screaming that they were collecting loan left. Whatever loan was presented was approved by the Ahmed Lawan Senate, and then the House of Rep superintended by the present chief of staff to the present president. So invariably there is a capture. That's my opinion. There is a capture of the legislature, both at the state level and at the federal level. The legislature has surrendered their independence. I'm serious.
You don't agree with him that the National Assembly is a retirement home?
Their independence to the executive. That's the reality. Because ordinarily, this woman shouldn't have been screened and shouldn't have scaled through.
What do you think about this?
No, the National Assembly, even though it's having a very large number of people, just like you said, who have been the executive and I want to be I think the Senate, will still have the House of Reps making up the National Assembly, having a very
we have many young and vibrant
large population of
politicians,
young
yes.
and vibrant. You see, most of the times, decisions that are taken by the National Assembly are often due to pressure by Nigerians. The decision of the National Assembly to drop Loretta, who was nominated by President Buhari into INEC, wasn't just a gift by the National Assembly. It was as a result of resistance by Nigerians, you know, the outcry from the public against a nomination. So I think beyond the fact that we have people in the National Assembly who may not understand why they are there, we have some who may not have the mentality to differentiate between who they were as executive officers and now as legislators. But as long as Nigerians continue to put the National Assembly on its toe, I think there are certain things we can actually get done, including the need for electoral reform. The person who sponsored a Not Too Young to Run bill was a single-time legislator in the House of Representatives. Today, it is a law, whether anybody likes it or not, in Nigeria. So there are reforms I think we can initiate and put in place as Nigerians, not minding who is sitting in these positions in the National Assembly, as long as they represent our aspiration and they remain popular, within us as Nigerians.
Is it also a function of the people occupying positions within INEC, or a formidable system that ensures that you cannot misbehave?
It's connected, but the most important thing is the institution. Just like we've seen in other democracies, there are democracies today that you can bring the worst of characters into position, but you can be assured that they may not last beyond 24 hours, a week, or a month in such offices if they don't operate by the dictate of the law. But in our situation, we have elevated, the strength of individuals above the strength of our institutions. Oftentimes we look at how influential, how strong the man is, not how powerful. Our laws should be so strong to the extent that even the most timid person can easily operate it to the advantage of the state. So it's not so much about individuals that are being brought. It is about the fact that we have laws that are easily manipulated. We'll have laws that are not even respected by the makers of the law. So until our laws become such that even the makers are afraid of, we may not even if we bring the best of the best, even the most neutral, to occupy positions in the INEC, they will still manipulate the process.
Dr. Johson, is it possible that we're not giving enough kudos to INEC and the structure it's been able to build? You made reference to Adamawa. The resident electoral commissioner came up to announce the APC candidate as winner of that election. But that announcement did not stand because INEC intervened from the top. I mean, that could have truncated that election by that declaration.
INEC intervened, but the sitting governor went there. That's to take physical, using the instrumentality of his office to put pressure on where pressure could be exerted to get that done. And you see, is there a need for us to review or reform our electoral body and reform our electoral process? I would say there is a need for us. We have tried this system. We have seen that this system made Abel Gubadia, Maurice Iwu, Jega, and then Yakub. In terms of the present administration, in terms of the present administration at INEC, if you look at it in terms of the promises, the investment, the assurances that were given, the resources spent on that election, you can't compare. I might be wrong, but in public administration, I did a bit of political science while I was in Unilag. Said to make science of public administration, you compare two administration of similar attributes. You don't compare military with civilian, you compare two civilian administration. Now, you can't compare. One of the best elections we have ever had was 2015 election. Superintended by who? Jega. One of the best elections we have ever had was also 2011 election. If you recall 2011 election, some elections, as a result of some parties not appearing on the ballot paper. In Lagos, some elections were stopped in some senatorial districts across and it was quickly corrected. And we went, and the election was conducted, and we dealt with that issue. We've had crisis. So if you review elections that we have had under different, and you compare the resources and the promises that were made, you discover that there's the need for us, one, there's too much power in the chairman of INEC. There's too much power. The power needs to devolve around other national commissioners and the rest of it. Two, we need to review how he's appointed. And we need to review how resident electoral commissioners are appointed into. Look, I've said this, you can't grow far in the civil service if you are not a politician. You can't. It's there, except you don't understand the workings of Nigerian civil service, except you are coming from the moon and you don't. Now, you can't bring a permanent secretary. For you to even become a permanent secretary in the civil service, you must be a highly partisan person to become a permanent secretary. Now, the person retired as a permanent secretary. You now created an opportunity for him also to become INEC resident electoral commission. There are ways in which some certain institutions were established. When you are crafting the document, it is crafted by civil servants. They craft it in such a way that they create retirement offices for themselves. That once they retire as this, and then you see the clause, it must be a retired permanent secretary, whether at the state or federal level, at this, and all of these things we need to look into. And until we look into that, you cannot look. Buildings are built based on structure. If you don't have a proper structure, the building will collapse. And the structure we have had concerning conducting election is faulty. And the basis of democratic governance is election. Now, if the foundation is not solid, it will collapse. You can continue to pray. It go better, it go better. Let me speak in our local parlance. It go better, it go better, it go better. Now it takes somebody enter bush. So it will be fine. And then we keep seeing it 25 years after democratic experience. Are we making progress when it comes to governance? when it comes to deliverables of governance, are we making progress? So if you want to assess the entire thing, look at the provisions for State Electoral Commission and look at the conduct of State Electoral Commission and situate that with the National Electoral Commission.
No, I like that you have removed the independence out of the State Electoral Commission because that is really arguable. But the rate at which we're upgrading the electoral law, is it at par with what should apply? We had an election over a year ago. Are we addressing the challenges in the last general election? Do you see the sense of urgency and priority on the part of the National Assembly?
In addressing the challenges of our past elections, we are not doing enough, especially in going back to the laws guiding our elections. Most of the times, you've seen election stakeholders, INEC, political parties, and even the media and society, resorting to, mere roundtable talks, conferences and seminars to discuss issues around our election without going to address it from the fundamental, which is the root. There's no amount of conference, seminar, or talk shops, as the case may be, that can correct our mistakes if we don't go back to the guiding principle, the guiding laws, regarding, our elections. A lot of times, we come with beautiful ideas, beautiful suggestions to correct the challenges of our elections, but we don't take these suggestions to the National Assembly to ensure that they are repealed as is maybe required in our laws that are giving room to those loopholes, identified in our elections. So election stakeholders, including INEC, must move from the culture of post-election engagement, which are usually academic, to the extent of going back to laws can be repealed for as many times as possible, as far as it is for the progress of the institution. Yeah. So we are not doing enough of that. I expect by now, after 2023, we have had 4 different off-cycle elections. How much of the challenges of 2023 elections have we proposed Amendment 4 as we speak? In the next couple of months, preparation will start for 2027. Though it's still there for November, they will start, Anambra is still coming. Yes. They will start preparation for 2027. They will forget the fact that there are issues that has to be addressed in the Electoral Act. They will wait for another general election. And
they will be expecting a miracle in 2026.
So it's
2026 in Osun.
Yes.
2026 in Osun.
Ekiti,
Osun Ekiti, 2026. You have in 2025
Anambra
in 2025. Yeah. Then we have Ondo in November 2020. So we still have. Now, if you look at what happened in the off-cycle election for Imo, Bayelsa,
and Kogi,
we went back to 2003.
Yes.
We went back to 2000. It was a travesty. Look, my son make a whole jest of me because when I got home, he brought me here. Actually, my son brought me for that election analysis. We were here together for that election analysis. And despite the fact that I had an injury, I couldn't move my leg, we struggled to get it. So I told him that I was not going to do any election night again in my life. That the analysis we did in the studio was paralyzed by the conduct of INEC and some other officials that we are not doing. We just went to the studio to make. And when I told him I was coming to the studio, it was just I said, well, look, we keep saying it and we don't give up. Yes. On the things improve. So we hope it improves. And the best man wins the job. When you know that you have to canvass for votes, and then it's actually your power comes from the ballot box, you will do something. You will do something for the people because you know you cannot get elected until you deliver for the people.
Well, I'm just concerned about how all of this impacts on good governance. Whoever emerges winner, already on social media, all of the parties are claiming that they have won this election. And that's also another very interesting thing. Somebody picks, the result of the polling unit and begins to announce it as if that's what has happened across board. We are hoping that INEC would stay true to its commitment of a free and fair election. The resident electoral commission was very passionate when I raised that question about his affiliation with the FCT minister. And he gave his word that his name, he said, I'm an associate professor of law, and my name is also at stake. We are hoping that all of them are paying attention. We're going to wrap up in a few minutes. We still do not know the time that the State Collation Center will open, but we'll definitely be back up as soon as the doors are open and those results begin to trickle in. Let me just have your final comment. What are your expectations in the coming hours? What do you think must be done differently?
INEC must ensure that what has been done since this process began, particularly the peaceful conduct of the Edo State people, is rewarded by ensuring that the outcome of this election reflects that old day that we had, that there were no crises, that people stayed true to their commitment for a peaceful election.
That's right.
So that the outcome does not negate the commitment of the people.
And they should also remember that we are following all of the pictures they have uploaded on the result viewing portal, which now has, I think, 97%.
For me, I want to commend the security agencies. I was skeptical. I was critical. But I think that from the conduct of this election, at least we have a near perfect, peaceful election. And
as against the tension in the build-up.
The normal tension we have concerning the build-up. I think that they must be commended. And I think INEC should complement what has been done by the security agencies by ensuring that it is the people's voice that is counted. And then everybody knows that there is hope for this country. And the responsibility is placed on the shoulder of whoever wins the election. And my mandate comes from the people and not from the courts.
Absolutely. Dr. Jide Johson, Chief Lecturer at the NIJ, Femi Lawson, Public Affairs Analyst. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time. It's been a wonderful time analyzing the outcome of today's voting exercise. All eyes on the State Collation Center in Benin City. Our correspondents are there live, and we'll be right back as soon as collation begins in that part of the country. I am Femi Oguntoye. Don't go.
these people are here, and I know that our next standard policy is that once you have showed up, they will not stop you from voting. I think that has always been their standard thing. Now the people are here. I don't see anybody who is going to tell them not to vote. So I think the problem will due to the media. Don't focus on the alleged negative. Because what you are telling me now, I have not seen it in the camera. Talk to me about what you are seeing here. Eyewitness, not hear, see. You understand? So, but my happiness is that these people who are the forgotten majority of rural people are showing to the elite hunger is not a reason for us to sell our votes. We will queue. We will not fight. Some people said this election will not take place. There will be do or die. Other people say they will blood. So whatever has to be done to put those guys who want to disrupt peaceful. Now, these guys are here peacefully. If they find somebody planning somewhere how to come and hijack this outcome, it makes sense to prevent him from doing so. We will allow one person to veto what hundreds or thousands of people are doing. So for me, that is it. You know, we must protect the system. The people want democracy. They don't want dictatorship, including civilian dictatorship. And civilian dictator is anyone who, through the instrument of gun or other violent means, prevent people from voting with a view to falsify outcome in his favor. And everything has to be done to put those minority, no more than 0.0001% of people who want to undermine democracy, they have to be dealt with so that the majority of the people's interests can be protected and the will of the people prevail.
For now, I'm glad with what I see. The process in my unit has been quite smooth and efficient. I just hope that the collation process will be the same, that it will be peaceful and that the results will be counted and there will be no disruptions. By the military, yes, I think they've done well. And the Chief of Defense Staff came to see and gave assurances that the people will be on ground and they will fully deployed. And you're seeing that deployment. And I'm glad that the military is here as a backstop. But clearly, we're not too sure what the police is doing. Because as I speak, there are some people who claim that they're policemen at the Ugbe polling unit, fields today, trying to arrest people on election day in their polling units. You can tell yourself, it will be strange if the people's will is not expressed. And I pray that it's not the case. Whatever the people want, whatever it is, however they've expressed themselves, should be the outcome of this election.
Just go there and vote. That is how it is right now. I believe the way it is, it should be like that everywhere. It's okay here. I don't know others. But what I'm seeing here is like a testimony that INEC is getting it right. A couple of friends are calling me to say I'm getting a lot of votes from different places. But I'm not there. I'm here because this is my home and my people love me. So for that reason, I have nothing to fear in my home.
It's good we're able to cast our ballot, but I think I'm not very happy with the process that delayed the coming of materials. Again, this is a single state election. INEC has had all the time to prepare, all the resources, and so we shouldn't have had some of the problems we had today. But having said that, you know, the good thing is that the people have been calm, the people have remained very patient, the people are steadfast and they've made up their mind that they will stay here, they will wait the process and they will cast their vote, and nothing's going to deter them. So that's good. But then people don't need to go through that hassle and suffering to be able to cast their votes. It's not necessary. But by and large, on balance, our exit polls just show what we knew. So we expect we'll win this election hands down by a landslide. And we'll see what happens, you know. Thereafter, we will settle with the people of Edo State and we will make sure that we move our state to the next level by God's grace. I'm very proud. The Nigerian military has made me extremely proud They've taken charge. They've shown great responsibility. They've shown that they can protect their people, and I'm extremely proud. And our military, you know, in years gone by, they've always accredited themselves with the best anywhere in the world, you know, and I think they're going back to those days, and I'm truly proud. So all the other people that have been funny in the way they've been carrying out their duties, the military has neutralized them, and I'm so proud. And like I said, the INEC chairman has assured and promised us that there is not going to be any such collusion in this process. Again, I believe him until he proves otherwise. So, by and large, as at what time is it now? 12:20 today. We're confident. We're okay. We're hopeful. We're not happy about a few ongoings in some places, but we remain confident. If it's the election, we will win hands down.
I'm still trying to make my own conclusions. I only just got here. I'm going to go around. But for my own process, it was seamless. The machine worked. I was captured. I picked up my ballot paper. I went into the booth. I thumbprinted where you will imagine I will thumbprint. And I stuck it into the ballot paper. So that went well. I'm hopeful that that is the experience of every Edo voter. I'm not going to conclude that that is the experience of every Edo voter until we start to get the feedback. We're getting some concerning feedback from around the state, but I'm not the kind of person who's going to make any statements until I verify the sources of my information. So it's early days, or should I say, it's still early in the day. And we will be observing the process as we go. At least we have crossed one hurdle. I have voted, and I'm hoping that our supporters will all be allowed to vote, and that their votes will count and be counted.
I'm happy that our people are actually aware now. Consciousness is high. Since morning, I think only 2 or 3 persons voted before the beavers developed faults. And they took it, they came back, and they left again. They came back, it was not working, they left. And the people were like, what is happening? I spoke to them, I said, calm down. You know, this technology at times can have issues. And we waited. We waited patiently to the extent that I had to get this canopy and chairs for them to sit and wait. And why I was confident is that all other units, there's no problem. So that means it could be technology error, and which is expected. And they came just now to tell us it's working. And you can see, everybody is still intact. So I'm happy that somehow I was thinking it's sabotage, but with what is happening now, that small thought of sabotage is gone. But we are pleaded with INEC, in line with their rules also, that they should check the time that we are starting, and they should also add that time for us to be able to vote. Because for all of us have to vote. We are here, so we must all vote. And for us to patiently wait shows that we want to actually vote and want to exercise our rights to vote. Yes, one thing I've heard is that it's calm and peaceful. I've heard that. Those small pockets, but not as widespread that we thought would happen because of the kind of news that we've been hearing about violence, burning Nigeria, burning Edo State, and we are thankful that here in Jetu, it's peaceful, it's calm, and even the weather is very, very calm. So maybe the weather also influenced the serenity that we have had here. You can see the people. Look at the crowd waiting till about 12:30 to wait for the beavers, and nobody is going home. It shows the consciousness of our people is now high, and I think it's good for democracy, because democracy is about the people. Democracy is about the people choosing their leaders, and when the leaders do well, they give them any time they want. If they don't do well, they still have the chance to use their voters card to vote.
The exercise began with accreditation exercise before voting commenced. Election materials arrived late at most polling units across the Tsako West local government. The ad hoc staff of INEC began setting up at about 8:55 a.m. Still at Etsako West, voting started late in Zari West following the failure of the Beavers machine deployed to the unit. Similarly, voting in Ward 1, Unit 3, Iwohime, Essen Southeast local government area started at exactly 11 a.m. with elderly people voting first. The rain was a challenge at Benin City as a downpour forced many voters to run for shelter, forcing many to stay away till the rain subsided.
It has been seamless. I came in just a few minutes ago and I've casted my vote. The only thing I can say is that the turnout is not that impressive. Unlike before, I know that when I come like this, times like this kind of election, we usually have crowd around, but probably because of the rain.
Governor of Edo State, Godwin Obaseki, voted at Unit 19, Ward 4 of a radio local government area, where he expressed satisfaction with the conduct of the election.
For now, I'm glad with what I see. The process in my unit has been quite smooth and efficient. I just hope that the collation process will be the same.
Governorship candidate Monday Okpebolo cast his vote at Udomi Primary School. Mr. Okpebolo commended the exercise and dismissed rumors of insecurity during the exercise.
What I'm seeing here is like a testimony that INEC is getting it right. A couple of friends are calling me to say I'm getting a lot of votes from different places. But I'm not there. I'm here because this is my home.
Another governorship candidate, Aswe Igodalo, expressed displeasure over INEC's lateness to polling centers.
Most definitely. If the INEC officials have just come, the process hasn't even started, so we're over 2 hours delayed. So the only fair thing would be for closure.
Olumide Akpata, who is also a governorship candidate, voted at polling unit 11 in a red local government area. Similarly, Senator representing Edo North Senatorial District, Adams Oshiomole, voted at Isako West local government area.
We must protect the system. The people want democracy. They don't want dictatorship, including civilian dictatorship. And civilian dictator is anyone who, through the instrument of gun or other violent means, prevent people from voting with a view to falsify outcome in his favor.
The Independent National Electoral Commission early announced extension of voting time in areas where the process commenced late. INEC stated that the election will continue in the affected areas until the last voter on the queue, who arrived at the polling unit by 2:30 p.m., has voted.
Voting was largely smooth and peaceful in parts of Benin City. Young, elderly and physically challenged voters showed up to exercise their franchise.
I came all the way from Etiti, very far, to my voting center. So I came out to come and discharge the duty of a citizen.
At my age, I've been voting right from the age they started democracy, and I hope the elderly ones should be given some little preference as regards voting accreditation, so that standing is our problem.
This election, there's no any stressful, and after I cast my vote, all what we need, especially the Edo people, all what we need is our good leadership. Anybody that won, we should do the needful. Inshallah.
3 hours after voting began, Governor Godwin Obaseki arrived Unit 19 in Ward 4.
I'm glad that the military is here as a backstop. Clearly, we're not too sure what the police is doing. Because as I speak, there are some people who claim that they're policemen at the Ugbe polling fields today, trying to arrest people on election day in their polling units.
The governor was cautious about giving thumbs up to the exercise, knowing that it was far from over.
For now, I'm glad with what I see. The process in my unit has been quite smooth and efficient. I just hope that the collation process will be the same, that it will be peaceful, and that the results will be counted, and there will be no disruptions.
As voting came to an end in parts of the state, the electorates were hopeful that the result would reflect the will of the people. Uche Okoro, TVC News, Benin City.
It was a rainy Saturday as our team was caught up in the rain on our way to the polling unit of the governorship candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Monday Okpebolo. The team had to navigate several bad roads which led to difficulty in getting to the polling unit on time. Finally, we arrived at Udomi Primary School, Orisa. This is where the governorship candidate of the APC is to cast his ballot. He stayed on the queue till it was his turn to vote, after which he spoke to newsmen.
I'm rating INEC very high. Reasons because everything is moving smoothly and the beavers is working perfectly. You see it very as if you have not done it, you have done nothing. So it's like just go there and vote. That is how it is right now. I believe the way it is, it should be like that everywhere.
The process seems to be seamless, as explained by some residents in the area.
It's like the atmosphere is filled up with the brothers and sisters. So there's no sign of violence. Even the INEC org, they are all compliant to make sure that everything will work out smoothly.
No single problem at all. As you can see, the process is going on smoothly. Even the network is stable. So to my observation, the whole place is calm. Security tight everywhere is okay.
Did the beavers work for everybody?
For the people that would have voted in my own unit, there are no single problem there. No single one. There's no problem at all.
The process so far has been seamless, and our main concern is for women, and for the purpose of this election, women. And so far, the turnout have been impressive. There's no violence so far in these units. One thing that was very impressive is that the INEC officials came on time.
While many wait to cast their ballot, others that have done that are saying that they will stay to monitor the process and ensure that their vote is defended. Theophilus Ilama, TVC News, Irua.